It's the biggest row to hit the NDA. Sushma Swaraj has helped many since taking charge as the Minister of Foreign Affairs. But her reported assistance to former IPL chief Lalit Modi over the grant of travel documents has set the cat among the pigeons. Even as the chorus for Sushma's resignation grows, BJP has thrown its weight behind the minister.
The year 2010 witnessed the fall of Lalit Modi from a cricketing czar to a man wanted for several offences. The brain behind the multi-crore Indian Premier League was left with little choice but to flee to London. 5 years after he was stripped of cricketing administration titles, the permission for Lalit Modi's travel documents has set the trigger for the one-year-old Modi government's biggest scandal.
This influential Labour lawmaker asked Sushma Swaraj to intervene and expedite the visa papers for Lalit Modi, and according to the Sunday Times expose, also allegedly helped with Sushma Swaraj's nephew's admission process for a law degree at Sussex University, a charge that Sushma Swaraj has vehemently denied.
An expose by a British newspaper shows that Lalit Modi's travel to Portugal last year was aided by the External Affairs Minister, Mrs. Sushma Swaraj.
We were initially tracking the case because Keith Vaz was involved.
Yes.
He's a very prominent British MP. He did say that Mrs. Swaraj had said that the Indian government had no objections to Mr. Modi being granted UK travel documents.
The revelations placing Modi's top minister in the dock, and soon enough came the calls for her ouster.
It is now established that Shrimati Sushma Swaraj ji was helping a fugitive of law of India.
The allegations against Modi's top minister have certainly put the government on the back foot. And reminders of the BJP stand in 2010 are not helping matters either.
इस देश में से भ्रष्टाचार मिटाने का तकाजा है कि संयुक्त संसदीय समिति का गठन सरकार माने.
With Lalit Modi on the run for the last 5 years, has the damning letter by the United Kingdom MP punched holes in the Modi government's claim of a transparent administration? With Kamaljeet Sandhu and Smita Sharma in Delhi, Bureau Reports, India Today.
Joining us now in the studio are Rahul Kanwal and Javed Ansari. Let me first take a question with Rahul. Rahul, the big question now is, did Sushma Swaraj take the Prime Minister into confidence? Did the Finance Ministry know that Sushma Swaraj is going ahead and giving this sort of a leeway to Lalit Modi, who's a fugitive, who was being inquired into by the ED? Those are the questions that the government will now have to answer.
Let me take you through the sequence of events as it unfolded this morning. I've been speaking to many senior leaders in the Bharatiya Janata Party. Sushma Swaraj first called up the Prime Minister at around 10 a.m. this morning. She called up Amit Shah as well. There were more than 10 conversations between Amit Shah and the External Affairs Minister, and throughout both Amit Shah and Narendra Modi told Sushma Swaraj, "Aap chinta na kijiye, party aapke saath hai, sarkar aapke saath hai, we will come out and bat for you." Then she spoke to Rajnath Singh, and Rajnath Singh then spoke to people in the RSS. He spoke to senior people in the RSS. The RSS was brought on board as well, and that's how the defense strategy was worked out. Then I asked a question to the senior source I was speaking to, but why hasn't Arun Jaitley spoken up in public? That's the critical question, because he and Sushma Swaraj for a very long time have had a very fractured relationship. I was told that if Arun Jaitley had spoken today, it would have seemed very forced, so they've kind of held that back. But tomorrow, if the momentum of the story, and I'm using a phrase that was used with me, if the momentum of the story continues, Arun Jaitley will make an intervention tomorrow. They're very keen on dispelling the notion that this is an internal hit job, that somebody who's a ministerial colleague is trying to pin Sushma Swaraj down. I was told that the party believes that there is a key associate of a disgruntled party veteran, somebody who's now fighting with, I'm trying to drop as many hints as I can without getting into libel or defamation, who's now very disgruntled with senior ministers in this government, who's a very eminent person himself. It is alleged, or it is believed by the party and the machine, that he's the one who's put out these details in an attempt to try and show the government in bad light now.
All right, and Rajdeep Sardesai, consulting editor, is also joining us on the phone line. Rajdeep, the big question that many people continue to ask is that why was a thank you message dropped to Sushma Swaraj's husband by Keith Vaz? That is one aspect that has not been answered by anybody.
Before I come to that, at the moment I've just got a message from Mr. Modi who says, Lalit Modi, who we have been trying to contact since the morning.
Yes.
Lalit Modi says he is in Venice at a wedding. Our sources say the wedding is of someone called Pam Grover, who is related to the Hinduja family, which is also based in London. Several celebrities from India have flown to that wedding. I am told they include some of India's rich and famous. Several industrialists have flown to Venice for the wedding. Lalit Modi says, I am at a wedding in Venice. I do not wish to comment on these reports. There is nothing illegal in what has happened. These are the three comments he has made. I am at a wedding in Venice. I have nothing to comment on the reports. There is nothing illegal in what what has happened. Clearly, Lalit Modi at the moment doesn't want to get involved in a more detailed conversation where specifics of the kind that you just asked, Maha, about whether in the context of Swaraj Kaushal, why were mails being addressed to Mr. Kaushal? What was his role in this? Because clearly, as the Sunday Times of London has shown, in 2013, apparently, as a mail shows, an effort was made to get a benefit for Mr. Kaushal's brother's son for admission in a university.
Okay.
Now, Sushma Swaraj has not denied that. Sushma Swaraj has only said that this happened in 2013, not after she took over as a minister in 2014. Lalit Modi is not willing to answer those specific questions about the nature of his relationship with Sushma Swaraj and her husband, and also his relationships with Keith Vaz, with whom he has shared several mails calling him a rock star, a superstar, and thanking him profusely. So I don't think we are going to get those specifics, but the very fact that Mr. Modi at the moment seems to be rather relaxed and enjoying life at a wedding.
Yes.
He's even put a photograph of his wife and two sister-in-laws who are present at that wedding. He's just flown in there from Cuba. So over the last week, he seems to have traveled half the globe.
The critical question here is, can Sushma Swaraj get away by saying that I don't know what my daughter Basuri and I don't know what my husband are up to. You can only judge me for my actions and not those of my family members who act independently, or politically, will that not pass muster, Javed?
Well, technically she may be right. Politically, I don't think it will pass muster. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered. What was the thank you note, as Maha pointed out? Why was the thank you note sent to Mr. Swaraj Kaushal? What were his services? Then the very fact that her daughter is working on the legal team of Mr. Modi. These are out of this arise questions pertaining to conflict of interest. And conflict of interest doesn't necessarily mean that there could have been there could have been a quid pro quo in financial terms. There could be favors granted. In 2013, he may have helped her niece or nephew get admission, and now this favor is being returned.
Okay, Rajdeep, I want your thoughts on the charge that's being made again and again, Javed, that people within the Sushma camp believe that this is actually an attempt to trip her over, that this is part 2 of what we saw earlier, which Dambram and Pranab having a go at each other. What are you being able to pick up from your sources? How much of that infighting angle is there here?
Look, there are many people who believe that Sushma Swaraj is paying the price for being popularly seen as being the best performing minister within the Narendra Modi government. But the facts speak for themselves. Even if somebody has supplied these documents, facts speak for themselves. They stare her in the face, and unless she can come clean, unless she answers these questions will continue to haunt her. The facts are that she put in a word. Why must the UK government take advice from an Indian minister on whether their laws permit? I mean, they will decide on their discretion. If their laws permit, they will give permission. If they don't, they will not. It's like somebody from the UK advising Sushma Swaraj that please give this person, if your laws permit, give them.
But what we're also seeing, and I see the commentary coming on other channels, they're linking his trip now to Venice and Cuba with the favor that Sushma Swaraj doled out. Now that's a blatant lie, because it was towards the end of April that the Indian courts allowed Lalit Modi to get his passport back, saying that holding back his passport is constitutionally incorrect. He has the fundamental right to have his passport till the time the charges are not proven against him. So what he's done since September last year is something that the Indian law actually permits. So while Sushma Swaraj needs to be scrutinized and her actions need to be questioned, you can't show those pictures on the screen and say this is because of the favor that Sushma gave him.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I don't think people are questioning that, Rahul, but the fact that that European laws also don't ask for the husband's permission as far as consent goes on surgery now is also being questioned, because that was what was cited by Lalit Modi, saying that he needed to sign a consent paper.
So he could have actually taken Sushma Swaraj for a wild ride, because I've got point 4, clause 4 of the law say that the patient who's undergoing surgery can herself give consent. So the husband's consent is not required, because Sushma Swaraj's defense and Lalit Modi's emails make it seem as if it's very important for his wife who's undergoing this cancer surgery to have Lalit Modi by her side, because without that the surgery can't happen. That's a blatant lie from Lalit Modi, because the law clause 4 says that the patient herself, and remember this is a pre-planned surgery, it's not an emergency, it's a pre-planned surgery, and Lalit Modi needn't have been there. And also the medical facilities in the United Kingdom are just about as good as in Portugal. So why does she need to travel to Portugal in the first place? This operation could have happened in the United Kingdom. And there's one more email, Maha, which is very important, where Lalit Modi is complaining about feeling stifled, feeling suffocated in the United Kingdom, and he isn't being able to meet his friends, such as the President of Seychelles. So here's a man who's obviously very used to having a good time, and the question is, why is the Modi Sarkar and a senior minister going out of their way to ensure that instead of being brought back to India to face the wrath of law, he's actually able to travel across the world, have a great time?
Also, Javed, I'd like to ask you this question. Do you think that the defense that was placed today by the BJP and also by the RSS, that this was done on humanitarian grounds, will ultimately not stand the test of scrutiny? Because that is something, as the Congress has already pointed out, that if there is a fugitive like Dawood Ibrahim who comes tomorrow and asks for some sort of relief on humanitarian grounds, will that also be granted to?
Look, in the case of Dawood Ibrahim particularly, they say because he's a terrorist, he's an enemy of the nation, declared enemy.
Maybe they're taking it too far.
But what is the threshold level? What is the threshold level, and how many people who are wanted by ED, how many people who have been charged with smuggling or money laundering are you going to redeem? The more due diligence ought to have been done, and you don't, you know, how many? The other important question, significant question, is how many people who are charged with such serious crimes, such serious allegations, have access to the ministers? Ordinary citizens can't contact a minister.
And why is the minister making a personal intervention? This should be decided by whichever joint secretary decides these cases in the Ministry of External Affairs. He's a fugitive with very serious charges against him. If at all, the External Affairs Minister Javi should be going out of her way to try and ensure that UK sends him back to India.
Yeah, why special consideration for somebody like Lalit Modi?
That's right. Also, one important point that, Rahul, I'd like to ask you is that if one arm of the government, the Enforcement Directorate under the Finance Ministry, is conducting a case against Lalit Modi, a probe against Lalit Modi, how is it that the other arm allows this sort of a relief to him?
That's a very important question. Now, the Enforcement Directorate reports to Arun Jaitley. Arun Jaitley is the Finance Minister. And why would Sushma Swaraj go out of her way to grant this special favor? Now, it's being reported that the Swaraj family and the Modi family have known each other before he became a fugitive. He was a well-known personality in India, and it's all right to have had relationships with him, especially since before these charges were leveled. But ever since these charges have been leveled, and Javed, what I find particularly disturbing is that in 2013, when Sushma Swaraj was the leader of the opposition, there's an email which says that she spoke to Keith Vaz asking for her nephew to be given admission in Sussex University.
Yeah, and there's an email from Mr. Lalit Modi saying that they're pretty concerned and they want the niece to be admitted and they need your help for admission to nephew to Sussex University. So obviously there are linkages, and it's not that some Indian in trouble, poor hapless Indian in trouble in the United Kingdom wrote to the minister, and this minister, being extremely responsive, reacted to the plight. She was moved by the plight. That's not true.
No, she spoke to Keith Vaz, and she also spoke to Michael Bevan. So Michael Bevan is the High Commissioner of the United Kingdom in India. Now, why would on an individual basis a minister make a call? Yes. You know, if you have to respond, you can respond in writing through the diplomatic channel. She's obviously going out of her way to help, and that by itself raises serious questions. But Mahab, one important point I want to make is, to compare Sushma Swaraj's actions with those of Ottavio with what the UPA did with Ottavio Kotroki, or helping Warren Anderson get away, or to call her A. Raja or call her Suresh Kalmadi, which is what one Indian station in particular has been doing. That's not fair. You know, you have to tell the story in its proper context, not exaggerate, not be sensational. Tell the story for what it is. It's a damning enough story, but to try and make it seem as if that a particular channel broke the story, which they didn't. This was broken by the Sunday Times in London 1 full week ago. It's being followed up by the Indian media, and our viewers who are watching this broadcast really ought to know those details.
Absolutely. In fact, Rahul and Javed, stay on with us. Let's quickly take a look at the kind of defense that Sushma Swaraj has put out for herself. She's in the spotlight for her assistance to Lalit Modi and has clarified her position to Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the issue. Sources have told India Today that Sushma conveyed to the Prime Minister that she did nothing that was out of the purview of government rules. Meanwhile, security was beefed up outside Sushma Swaraj's residence today in the wake of any possible protests. Home Minister Rajnath Singh also spoke with Prime Minister Modi to brief him about the Sushma Swaraj issue. The BJP and the government have meanwhile thrown their weight behind Sushma Swaraj and debunked the allegations against her for the moment. Javed, let me come across to you now. There was stunned silence in the BJP in the first half of the day. It was only after the RSS and Indrish Kumar came out defending Sushma Swaraj that we saw voices from within the BJP also coming out and speaking to the media. Do you think the BJP was stumped by this controversy and wanted to wait to see which way the RSS goes and then go out and support Sushma Swaraj? Was it not natural for them to come and support her?
You know, they were perhaps trying to put a strategy together, get to the bottom of the story. But the fact is, and like Rahul said earlier in the program, there was a series of meetings, there was a series of phone calls. It's only when they got to the bottom of the matter did they come up with a cogent strategy. But having said that, all that Mr. Rajnath Singh and Mr. Amit Shah have said flies in the face of what they've been saying while they were in the opposition. Yes. As leader of the opposition, Sushma Swaraj, when the Shashi Tharoor case, IPL involvement came up, what did she say? She wanted a JPC set up. It's not only was she content with his resignation, she wanted a JPC set up. And what did Mr. Narendra Modi, he was then chief minister, say in that famous remark of his, 50 crore ki girlfriend. You know, now look at the stand they adopted when it came to Ashwani Kumar. Look at the stand they adopted when Pawan Kumar Bansal, not Pawan Kumar, but his nephew, when his nephew there were allegations against his nephew. Look at the stand that they adopted when it came to when it came to Shashi Tharoor. Yes. Now, of course, they are seeking this defense that this was done for humanitarian grounds. So it doesn't wash. It flies in the face of all they have stood for and tried to proclaim when they were in opposition. And
Rahul, do you think the opposition has enough ammunition now to go all guns blazing, not just against Sushma Swaraj, but as we saw in the press conference of the Congress party today, even go after the Prime Minister, seeking a clarification from him and the FM?
Well, the Parliament session is about 25 days away. The Congress is trying to gun for Narendra Modi. Now remember, Sushma Swaraj is a much-liked leader. We've already seen the RJD from Bihar, we've seen the Samajwadi Party in Uttar Pradesh come out and speak in her favor. Yes. They've actually said that, you shouldn't question her moral authority. She's one of the finest political leaders we have. As leader of the opposition and now as External Affairs Minister, she's amongst the most liked BJP leaders. So you won't see the kind of vicious attack that there would be against, say, an Amit Shah, or if the Prime Minister himself was found culpable or if charges were leveled against him. So the Congress wants to make this about the Prime Minister. They want to get the Prime Minister involved. As Javed said earlier, they want to hear from the Prime Minister. They're saying, okay, just Amit Shah speaking or Rajnath Singh speaking is not enough. We want to hear from the Prime Minister. Does he think, and the Prime Minister has also made this government about himself. Yes. So naturally, the Congress will try and gun for him. But your question about how much the Congress will want to chase this, they will of course want to chase this because they've had to sacrifice the likes of Ashwani Kumar and Ashok Chavan at the altar of similar attacks by the BJP. Okay. They will go after the BJP as much as they can. But remember, a lot of people in the opposition have a softer corner for Sushma Swaraj than they have for others in the BJP. But
a lot will also depend in the days ahead if there are more revelations. Absolutely. There is talk of these WhatsApp conversations. There is talk of any email trail of proof, of evidence of hospitality being enjoyed of Mr. So once those stumble out, then it could be a different story.
Tough days ahead for the NDA government. Many thanks, Javed and Rahul, for joining us on this broadcast.